Hey, welcome to What's the Story? Second hour. Hopefully we'll have some folks join us here pretty quick. They should get notified when we go live, and it's been working. We'll see if it continues.
Yeah, best I can tell from polling of the studio audience, yeah, people like it.
Yeah. So I'm Janice Hermson, Doug Ashby, Ed Knoll, and we have been doing this for a long time, but we've been doing it from the studio at America Matters, and we still are affiliated with America Matters. It's just that we're now doing these from the LaRue Press studio here across the beautiful view of the Grand Sierra
I was
Resort.
say across the veranda.
Yeah, well, it's a lake view, right?
Yeah,
we have the lake view here.
Cement pond.
That's right.
I have a question about that lake. They have areas where you can drive golf balls into the lake.
Yeah.
How do they get the golf balls back?
They're all floaties. They're all plastic.
They're
not real golf balls.
Have you ever done it?
Yes, one time, like 100 years ago.
Oh.
But I was by there recently watching. So the balls aren't the same as regular golf balls. They hit like you buy a bucket of balls and they float. And so they just send a little thing. It's one of the great genii. Instead of buying a tractor and shoot, right? And the guy rolling through the grass, picking up the balls while you shoot at him, they just send a ripple and all the balls go to the side and they get them.
Probably had to be an engineer to come up with that, huh? I looked at that lake for years and think, why is it there? And then it was a blinding glimpse of the obvious. When that hotel was built, it was the largest in the country, if not the world. It was that big. Well, it wasn't in downtown Reno. It was way out in the desert. It was, quite a ways from downtown. So what they did was several things. They made it sprinklered because it was so far out, but they didn't have so far out, no water supply. Hence the lake.
So being a Midwester,
right? Makes sense.
Or any time, so in the Midwest and East, where the freeway is, about every 3 miles, there's a lake right next to it. Where do they get the dirt to elevate the stuff? They dig holes and make lakes for the road. I'm serious. That's what they do. So in Ohio, every 3 miles or so, there's a lake right off the freeway that they dug a hole. They used the dirt from that to build the freeway.
Well, why do they have elevated freeways?
Well, they got to stay out of the water, right? It's a wet space. You got to stay above ground. On top of the ground. Yeah. I'm not saying even like 580, right? It's elevated, even though it's on top of the ground. You can feel when it's like a bridge, right?
As a kid in California, you would go to different places. Well, some of the not so traveled roads, what they did was they didn't have a way to move dirt the way they do today. So what they did is they just paved them the way they were there.
Right.
And that's the ones with the big whoopie-doos, how it just went up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
Well, going 60 miles an hour, that was a lot of fun.
Well, unless you were a kid and couldn't see, and then you had like the motion sickness fun.
Why else have them, right?
Well, right. That's over the river and through the woods kind of discussion.
See, those are bygone days. The kids just don't know what it's like to go over a road that way, huh?
Hey, Ed, we were going to talk a little bit about the American dream and getting a home.
The American dream, right?
So you know what? First, though, I'm sorry. I'm going to take you off your game there because we never did our word of the day for officially. So you going to do the word of the day?
Yes,
we haven't done that. We're a little out of practice here, right? So our word of the day is ministerial. And I chose that word because of the fact that the county commissioners are going to be told today when they do item number 22 on the agenda that this is ministerial. And I don't know anywhere in the statute where it said that.
Yeah. So they don't. So the Nevada Constitution doesn't use ministerial.
I searched. I went to the election. I did. I went to the elections section 293, and I searched ministerial and did not find it.
And with respect to our county commissioners and this specific stuff, ministerial
Bless you.
means it's the law and obligation without emotion. I'm paraphrasing.
Okay. Obligation without emotion.
Yeah.
Okay, that would describe it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
is.
It's doing your job.
Exactly. Yeah. And they did their job.
I think so. I
yeah.
totally think so.
They just didn't vote the way that the Secretary of State wanted them to
Yeah,
vote.
but they don't know their job, so how could they know anyone else's job, right? I really have no respect
Are
for
you
that
kidding
guy.
me?
He never comes out front. He never communicates with the people. All I hear him is beating on our commissioners.
Whenever you're in a position of power, everybody knows your job and can do it better, right?
Well, I suppose. So do you have any synonyms for ministerial?
Oh, please. Thank you for asking.
What you got? Like the pulpit, the pew,
Wait a minute.
right? The
Well,
what do they call it? The Bible fund investment.
yeah. Yes, synonyms. Very. I mean, you could guess them. None of these are in the dark area. Trust me. Clerical, clerky, clerky.
Is there a word, clerky?
Evidently.
What dictionary is that?
Yeah.
Is that the Urban Dictionary?
Yeah.
It might be.
Look it up. Right
It sounds like
up.
it sounds like the chicken library, right? Cluckly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
How about governmental, parliamentary, cabinet? You know, that's every one of them.
So governmental in today's
But
world
in
is
the word-
totally not it, because it's all emotion right now. Best I know, no one
But it's
cares
not
about the
about
law.
the word ministerial does not mean governmental.
Right.
It's an adjective.
It's what?
It
An
can be an
adjective.
adverb too, but still.
I guess it could, yeah.
But it
Anyway, well, nice try.
it's doing
we
your
always challenge your
job
synonyms.
without emotion. So you could be a construction guy, or you could be, me building signs in hospitals. As long as I'm doing my job ministerially.
Being or having the characteristics of an act or duty prescribed by law as part of the duties of an administrative office. That's what I got.
It sounds as serious as like the guy who like the hanger, the linchpin, the hangman kind of thing.
True. Doug's looking something up. I can see it. He's got his phone out.
This is
Who's-
evidently I must be nervous about coming here because this is the second time in a row. Last week I completely left my word of the day behind.
You're doing what I used to do at the studio.
Yes,
I'd go to the studio and all
to-
my stuff would be here.
today I only brought half the sheet, so I had to look up the other half to see if we can come up with
That's pretty
some
funny.
definition and
You're
meaning.
taking
here.
on my role from the studio.
Kind
And
of.
the studio I'm talking about is America Matters. And don't forget, we are heard from 7 to 9 on Tuesdays on 93.7. So be sure to tune in.
And they have the aquarium there waiting for you.
Okay, here's some you're gonna, I think, balk at. We said clerical, canonical, canonical.
Oh, canon, I get like
Okay, yeah. I
of
got
church
it.
law.
Yep.
All right, how about this? Clergy, holy, pastoral.
I don't know.
Religious.
It's of the ministry, right? I mean, that's not all religions.
That's true, I guess.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. you're
So, did you ask the attorney general when the last time was he used ministerial?
I did not. It was the DA actually
DA.
that was using the word. But the DA, Nate, that was there when they did the first meeting, he said, there's more to it than that. I suspect today it's going to be, I believe it's Mary Canderas, and I apologize if I'm not saying her name right, but that's the district attorney. He's the assistant. And apparently she's going to probably say it's ministerial and they have to do it. That's my guess. So I don't know. That's what they've said in the past. They've always passed it with Jeannie 9 times out of 10
right.
voting no.
They've voted with those on the left, right? Best I know. No, we haven't had a right majority. Well, we do have.
But not really.
No, we don't, because the Andriola gal votes 97% the other way.
Right.
And she's a liar, pants on fire.
Well, and in this case, I guess some people are saying that, she's been threatened, and so that's why she's changing. So I don't know. I am, again, unfortunately, this is not reporting. This is like telephone.
So I want to talk about something, because I had a discussion with this during COVID. And if you remember, all the electioneers, or many lower level county folks bailed when they got their lives threatened over working. Well, that same thing's going on here, right? Like, and to me, I told my mom that those folks ought to buck up and do it or check out, right? I mean, you can't like do the job and be afraid.
Right.
You have to choose one of those paths. Yep. And we haven't.
It's true. Hey, thanks for joining us. Those of you who have found our link again, thank you very much. And if you didn't see, our word of the day is ministerial, and that's what we've been talking about. And then I am going to hand it off. Do you have something more?
I do. There's a lot of them you can balk out on this. These are smart vocabulary, related words and phrases: governmental, ministerial, and civil servants. Okay, aid. Attorney General.
They're not the same.
I like this one.
But those are people. That's not describing the activity.
Is this a liberal dictionary you're using?
Yes, it is.
You guys are a tough crowd.
I like some of these. These are words I've never heard. How about backbencher?
What?
Cabinet, first minister, foreign secretary, functionary, government, home secretary, private member, private secretary.
Hey, folks, go look up ministerial. I don't think you're going to find this. And I think you probably need some more chocolate.
I do now.
Yeah, there you go.
I think
some more chocolate.
Town clerk, secretary. How about
this? We're always looking for sponsors, by the way. If you like, we love chocolate. Maybe if you
if you want to be a backbencher, we're all in.
We'd love to have you as a sponsor. We're gonna need.
Look, this baby Ruth.
Well, maybe not.
Baby Ruth bar can talk.
Not.
Ooh, blah, blah, blah.
I don't think you're selling them, Ed. I think we're in trouble.
Okay, how about this?
Doug's just totally not with it. He doesn't hear a thing.
No, I didn't. I tuned out. Well, the reason was I looked at words that I'd never seen before. How about a vizier? Vizier. Vizier.
That's a new one for me too.
Okay. Isn't there a city named that in California?
See, wait a minute. But it does fit when they give you the definition of that word. And an important official in some Muslim countries in the past, especially one who advises and helps a powerful ruler. So it fits.
Visor.
Yeah.
Vizier, right? All right, we'll put it out there. Maybe somebody will respond.
Okay.
Are we done now? I think we're done with that. I think we need to hand it off to Ed and let him talk some finance.
And
I also did pull up an article in case you need to know what rates are and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I think, it comes from the point of multiple points. Where are people, right? Are you investors and you all in the frothy stock market? Because I understand small caps are doing well. And it looks like profit taking is going to be happening. They're expecting going into the fall 2 rate cuts.
I heard that, and I wanted to ask you about that because you were pretty good at prognosticating.
Nothing's changed.
I know.
So we're at 3% instead of 5% inflation, but we're still not at 2. And the number, right? You have to. You can't add a bigger number and get smaller, right?
Right.
I mean, new math doesn't work.
Did you see what the Dow did today?
So I saw it was up like 4,800, 48,000, or
Oh, yeah.
40,800. Sorry.
Well, yes, it's quite a bit more. Today. It was up.
It's exactly 40,000. Oh, 900.
It was up 742 points today.
So, but the prognosticators and the people with the smart money said play, but they're playing to that back bench. They're playing with tertiary, right? All the big names are overbought, supposedly, right? And they're looking for a pullback, profit taking. But it's all about timing, right? Is that going to happen around the election, right? With whoever wins, right? A vote of confidence or no confidence.
Right. So the other thing that I looked up was the rates and down payment requirements.
Loving that.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That's like a walk down memory lane. It almost makes me want to hurl.
Boy.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
everyone knows my story with
I'll
that.
bet those guys that are issuing loans now are making the bucks, right?
So we've always made money in mortgage if you're doing loans. The challenge is the loan volume is so small now that there's only 10%, maybe 15% of the folks that can make a living in mortgage since Biden's been in power.
Right. So
undeniable.
Flagstar Bank's been around for 100 years because I did mortgages and
I have my mortgage with them
So do
now.
I.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure, me too.
It wasn't too long ago where not only did you have to pay a high rate, you had to, and I like the euphemisms they had. You have to pay 2 points for this.
Right.
Or 3 points.
Well, but you're buying it down then. You're buying down the rate.
No. This was just
by paying 2 points. That's basically what you're doing to get whatever that rate was. That's
this is years ago. Well, matter of fact, it was when I bought my first home. So that was
but that pricing is flexibility for your loan officer can give you a no point loan.
I used to work with a guy that.
Well, let me go through this because people want to hear what rates are. Minimum credit score 620 at Flagstar. This is what they're posting now.
Okay.
This is
I know them pretty well.
Yeah. And minimum down payment 0 to 3.5%. What happened to having to have a down payment? Here we are again, no down or 3.5% down or right. And their mortgage rates, it says lower than the national average. So they're not giving their rates.
Well, because it's the average daily Freddie Mac, and Freddie Mac doesn't count. So you'll have points associated.
Right.
The average rate might be 6.625 with 1.333 points or some funky thing.
So
like that.
if I go to compare rates, because I just really wanted to see what are they asking for down payments, what kind of credit scores
they're
are they
around
looking
7%, I bet.
So we're going to enter 89502 here on my computer.
That is the generic,
do we want to, let's do a home purchase and a single family home. Oh yeah. Let's just tell them everything we know. Is this our first time? No, we're not going to be a first time. Oh my goodness. This is painful to get these rates. Where are you in the home buying process? 2 to 6 months.
It's rigid. This is just like filling out government forms.
No. And you know what they're going to tell me? That they have to send it to me, I'll bet, right?
Oh, of course.
What's the estimated purchase price? I'm going to leave it where it has it, which is 400, less than 20% down. And my credit score, let's see. Well, let's go with their 620. Let's go with their 620.
FHA is what they got.
Are you a spouse? No.
That's always a question.
Employment, employed. Oh my goodness. So my recommendation, call somebody. Call Ed. He'll tell you who to call.
Yeah, I'll give you a friend to call.
But, Janice, were you in the industry?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I was for 12 years.
When Debbie and I first got married, we couldn't use her income. They said, well, she's a woman. We can't use that.
So that's a risk factor they used back in the day, and they use all kinds of risk factors now that aren't risk factors either, having to do with income or things.
Back in the day when I tried to get a Sears card, they would not give me one because I was a woman.
Yeah.
That whole pregnancy thing and out
Yeah.
that's just so
it's terrible.
women, honestly,
Terrible stuff.
you were definitely raked over in that time. That's just BS.
Was
You
not
ought to
pretty.
have a smile on your face because there's going to be a group of people who you say Sears. What's
Oh
that?
yeah, Sears.
Sears.
What's Sears?
Best I know,
Sears
Sears
Roebuck.
Sears is the same as Forever One.
Yeah,
It's a brand,
exactly.
right? It's a brand.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you want rates, you're not going to find them through this site because all they're going to tell you, and basically the down payments are 0 to 15%.
And here's the thing: you can have zero down, but you have to make 250 grand, right? Because your payment's going to be $6 grand.
Yes, especially if your credit score is in the 620
Which means,
range.
I mean, if you have a payment in the $5,000 or $6,000 range, including principal and interest, taxes, and insurance, you got to make about 15.
Hang on, we've got Sage Home Loan Corporation is quoting rates of 6.37% at 0 points. How about that?
And what's their APR, right?
APR
We can get a
6.38. Ooh.
So it doesn't say APR there.
Right here.
Oh, it does on top there.
Yes,
It is.
sir. It does, yeah.
So there's virtually no cost on that loan. See the 6.37
Yep,
APR.
their fees they say are $798. So, but that's on its face. That's going to be
What we don't know.
We don't know
what
what the credit score is.
If you're left-handed, it might be a different, right? That might be a guideline you missed.
That's right. They are saying it's a 30-year fixed. So, there you go. And for this particular criteria, which is a $750,000 property with 20% down, 780 plus credit score, a loan amount of $600,000, and you're going to pay $3,741 a month.
I was going to say Rocket Mortgage.
They don't give us anything though.
Well, right, because Rocket Mortgage doesn't do any loans unless you got 760 credit.
Oh.
They're cherry pickers.
Yeah, there you go. At least that's the way it was when you were doing loans,
well,
which was only last week.
This is my opinion, right? I mean, I hate it when people go, I've been in the industry 48 years, right?
Who are these credit scores written for? The consumer or the banks?
So for sure, they're for debtors, right? Banks. So here's the logic with credit scoring back in the day, right? The credit scoring is, hey, you live in New York, you banked with Bank of New York, you're 40, 50 years old, you move west. No one knows you out here. You can't get any credit, right? And so by having this record of online payments, the banks pay to have your records kept, right? They pay money to put you in credit scoring. And so by showing what kind of good payer you are there, you can apply for loans in a different part of the country. And, if you've been a good payer, get good rates, which wouldn't happen. So for instance, in the country of Australia, the government's trying to mandate credit scoring there, but they don't have it. You just are a member of a bank and that bank knows you. And if they don't do business somewhere else, you got to go apply to them, but they don't know anything about you because there is no credit reporting. So it was designed for people. Of course, it was one of those things I'm sure banks came up with, designing it to look like they're helping people when they're using it to squash us.
When I was young and stupid, I dealt with a banker, and he was the president of a local branch. And I would assume pre-credit scores because it never, ever came up. And I would go there. He knew me. I knew him. And I'd say, Chuck, I need 20 grand. He says, what for? And I said, I'm flipping a house. He says, how long are you going to need it? And I said, about a month. He says, okay, you got it. It's going to be expensive. So that's okay.
So now
he was a hard money lender.
I was going to say right now, though,
he was a hard money lender.
If you walk into Bank of America or any branch of any credit union, there's no decision makers there.
Oh no,
I know.
Right.
couldn't do
So
that
you
now.
can't get that.
Yes,
that
yes.
guy that knew
Yeah.
you
Oh,
and knew you were a
absolutely
good
right.
bet.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
No.
I know.
There
It
is-
was so comfortable to have him do that. And I goes, Chuck, I said, it's taken longer than I thought. I thought this was going to be about 2 weeks. It'll probably be stretched out, maybe to a full month. He says, okay, you got it. No problem.
Wow.
I never burnt
The
him.
good old days.
Exactly. And I made thousands of dollars doing that.
I'm sure.
So did he.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about it is that these were all brand new homes and developments. And how Debbie and I first got started in this, we went in and we looked at, and they had a trailer backed in and they had a bunch of lots. And I said, well, are you selling homes? And he says, yeah. I said, well, when are they going to be built? And he says, oh, it's probably before we have them all done, it'll be about a year. I said, well, my wife and I are looking for a home. I said, if we find one, how much do we need to hold it? And he says, $500. $500 for a
So
house.
what was this in like 1963? This was right as you guys got married or something, right?
I was working for 3 or 4 days and I called Debbie. I said, what'd you do today? She says, oh, I bought another house. I mean, that's how lucrative. Well, then the developers, they were pissed.
Well, right. Well, a couple of different things in the banking world. If you had 2 of those at the same time, you got to qualify for both of them or you couldn't be on the waiting list.
Yeah.
You're not pre-approved for both purchases.
Well, that was the thing,
But anyway, you get into that, right? I mean, that's what they talk about now.
Back then, most of bankers were using abacus. They didn't have computers. So, it was easy.
It didn't matter as long as people paid people back.
Yeah.
Right. And people, I am still amazed at people borrow money and generally pay it back, right? Unless there's some emergency.
Stop. Unless it's a school loan.
Well, unless they have poor character, right? Or something tragic's happened, right? People get cancer, people get in accidents, people happen, but people want to pay. It's endearing to me that people want to pay off their stuff. It's crazy, but they do. I mean, we've been mostly raised that way, but I think that's one of the core values that's changing. People don't care about, what do you call it? I mean, just commitment and doing what you say, and simple
accountability.
What we think are simple values don't exist today.
Ed, let's go back to a conversation we had about 45 minutes ago. When I was growing up, to get a job, you had to have a clean credit record. You had to show that you were employable. You had to have the skills for that job. Well, now with affirmative action, what it done, it erased all of that. Because when you applied for it, it wasn't whether you could do the job, it's that did you belong to a certain segment? Well, it didn't take long for young kids to understand, why should I bust my butt going to college, doing, keeping a clean record when it doesn't matter?
Right, when they can get a job with big.
Exactly.
So you can't get a job at DEI, I don't think, at LaRue Press. Right? I don't think that job title exists. But at every school, K through 12, even smaller, right? Every government job, every department, right? I mean, the government employs more people than anyone else. Like half of all jobs are the government.
Yeah.
And they use it. That's it. And some big corporations.
So speaking of big corporations and maybe not so much government, but maybe some researchers and clinicians, how do they feel about AI? So I thought it was kind of an interesting thing. We've talked about AI and how we use or don't use it, maybe would, maybe wouldn't. Recently, Beatles did a thing with AI on the elections, came back that they were 99.9%
manipulated.
Yeah. Now, do we trust AI? Because somebody made a statement after he got up on the dais and started talking, or actually at the podium and started talking about that. Somebody came up and said, well, you can't trust AI. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I ran across this article where they actually had some percentages of what these folks thought about AI.
I trust AI over doctors. Right? Huh? Doctors are trying to keep you in the machine and make money, right? How many tests you got? How many tests you need? They can run tests for Medicare folks, for Social Security.
They call it a practice.
Well, I don't play, right? You guys play. My brother plays. I don't play.
Yeah.
So I mean, they use you as a profit center. Oh, here, go plug in over at the treadmill. You got to have a stress test. Yeah. Go over, let's do a lung scan.
Well, you can thank the attorneys for that.
I'm not a huge fan of charts and, and all of that, but it is interesting to see what they come up with, because really, where's the percentage in them like faking this, right? I mean, I don't think that they gain anything by doing it. What they're saying is awareness outstrips actual usage. So it's like us, we're very aware of it, but do we use it? Very seldom, very seldom. I've played around with it a little bit on things.
It's on Meta now, right? And it's so like when you go to Messenger, right? It goes to Messenger. There's a category that's AI. Oh. It's Meta AI. You can just whip it up like Siri and say, Meta AI, what is the solution to the world?
So what they're saying is familiarity with AI, very familiar, like 96%, right? So like people are very familiar with it.
Well, it's like Acme, right? It's A1, right? AI, right? It's just like Acme, double A.
So, and then the usage of AI now, 54%, no, wait, excuse me, have used AI for work, 11%. And then 23% have used AI for non-work, and 46% have not used AI at all.
So
that's interesting.
So I think that is, and we can go back into AI, but I think that the diagnostics on your car are a little bit AI, right? When they plug in.
Yeah.
For sure. DU and LP, loan prospector and direct underwriting,
right.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac decision makers on home loans. That's AI.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Yeah, we've used it for a long time.
So right.
But not in the way of like for information.
Consulting.
Yeah, consulting. Right. So what they're saying is high-level trends in response suggest that awareness of AI is high, but regular usage is low, generally with expectations that this will grow. Well, of course, you want it to grow. You created it. You want it to be, it's like when you make a product, you want it to be sold. You're going to say, oh yeah, everybody's going to want it now, right?
Right.
Okay, institutions have not yet clearly conveyed to researchers and clinicians their AI usage restrictions or their preparations for increased use of AI, because everybody's wondering, how do we deal with this, right? How, like as a publisher, I question, well, is that copyrighted material you're sending me? What's your source? And they do give you all the sources, but now you're going to spend half your life having to reference about 50 different places that they pulled all that information.
Right.
And then is that reliable information? Is that source truly a reliable one? When I do research, and I'm sure anybody else, where you're going, if it's an encyclopedia, if it's Wikipedia, if it's, some Joe Blow down the street, right? I mean, who you're asking. If AI gives it to you, you're going to have to look at all those sources and decide, is this valid?
I'm with you, but I think that the fun of AI is solving the challenges that aren't easily solved, right? So like,
you don't know your source of information. Is it real?
Well, and I'm with you, but it's like, hey, can we build this, like the bridge, the Key Bridge, right? Can we build that thing in 10 months?
What if it doesn't really know? Oh my God.
Shouldn't it tell us?
You're building bridges.
Shouldn't it be like a human being, or is it going to be like a Democrat and just lie and make it up?
I think it's going to make it up.
Yeah, that's what I think, really because it's more left than right. It was created by lefties.
Yeah, attitudes are mixed, but sentiment is more positive than negative. Well, I think they're going to say that. but it's among researchers and clinicians, so it's possible that's true, right? I mean,
Best
okay.
I know, those folks are all happy anyway.
Yeah,
right?
specific actions can help increase trust,
You know,
and by taking and communicating them, providers of AI tools can increase users' comfort. So for me, I'm going to tell you that, I don't know, respondents flag fears about misinformation, just like I did, right? They have fears of that. 95% of researchers and 93% of clinicians say they believe that AI will be used for misinformation.
I was going to say, whether we're talking President Biden or President Trump, I'd say AI's in line with their lying. Right? If they lie, about government's lying at the same rate.
Yeah.
So who's more credible?
If they go to a government site and that government site has put lies on it, they're only going to be feeding me lies. And how am I going to know that?
And best I know, and we should get into this, our own government shouldn't be able to lie to us about real facts, right? Like what's going on with our county commission.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be able to deceive the electorate.
Well, I advise anybody who's listening that if you're interested in what's going on, our legislature is going into session and they're putting together bill draft requests right now. Bill draft requests are what laws they want to make. And boy, they're working on making a lot of them.
And, we talk about, the left talks about President Trump being this huge threat to democracy. But best I know, President Biden's taken rights away from me that Trump never did.
That's true.
Right? I mean, they want to tell us what kind of oven to buy. Certainly, they're telling us what kind of cars to buy.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And what medicines we got to take and when. I mean, they're shoving it down our throat, and they're talking about President Trump taking our democracy. Biden's already taken our rights.
Don't hold back.
When you,
I feel better.
When you talk about AI, I think about when all of us were in college, you had to, part of your general ed requirement was English 1 or English 100 or English A, whatever it was. But it was how to write a term paper. You had to have 3x5 cards. You had to go to the Dewey Decimal System. And have you ever wondered, what do they do now?
If there is anybody young listening, do you know what the Dewey Decimal System is? And
so they don't really, because I talked to my son about it. However, it's easy now for them to write a report and find the sources.
Word.
Way easier than us. It
not
tells
only
you.
That, with Word, you just plop it in there and everything's cited.
Yep.
AP style or whatever style you want. It cites it for you.
For us, right? We had to go New Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, 1964 AE 591.
So you don't have to, part of your GE, it's not English 100 anymore. It's English XXX.
Something like that.
I do think they should start a new class, though. And best I know, everybody reads to a certain level now because they need it for their phone.
Oh, that's true.
Right? And they could do something in third grade and call it reading for texters.
Oh my gosh! it
would be, at least it would be timely.
Something,
yeah, and it would be
right.
Timely.
They would be teaching English.
Yeah, and we do have to do our book blitz because I don't want to forget to do that. And because we don't take a lot of breaks now, it's like the time just goes, and we're always having such a good time. Anyway, but I want to mention too, ranked choice voting. I know you're probably sick of hearing about it from me.
No, people have forgotten.
If you are in Nevada and many other states, Alaska is trying to repeal ranked choice voting, and Nevada is trying to vote on it a second time.
Anything that's bad for people, our current government wants. What up with us, folks?
But if you have listened to past shows, you know that I am a No on 3, which is the initiative for ranked choice voting in Nevada. So in November, when you vote, it's going to be issue number 3, and I suggest that you read about it. My suggestion is No on 3 because ranked choice voting means you have a jungle primary being everybody gets to vote, but you only vote for one person. If you're a libertarian, And you think your libertarian person is going to advance to the general like they do now? Probably not. Ask Phil Izon in Alaska, and he can explain it to you. And if you want to reach him, I can get you in touch with him. So let me know. But I suggest that we not do this ranked choice voting. And because then after that primary, then the top 5 people will go to the general. So and these are for federal and state offices, not your locals.
It keeps us further and further away from choosing the person we want.
That's right, because now you get into that general and you have to rank 5 different candidates, whether you want them or not, whether they're a Democrat,
whether
Republican,
you know them or
Libertarian.
not.
Yes, you are going to have to rank them. And if you don't, you say, I don't want to vote for that person. There's a thing called and it's going to escape me now. Oh my goodness. I want to say a deflated ballot. It's not. That's not what it's called. Exhausted. It's deflated. It's exhausted. An exhausted ballot.
It's exhausted. Ministerially.
Ministerially, it's exhausted. Yeah. Anyway, it is an exhausted ballot. So you don't want an exhausted ballot, but if you don't vote for all 5, if your candidate suddenly is not there, your ballot gets tossed. So
currently our vote counts.
It does. Despite the
and
fact
it
that
won't then.
I'm somebody who's very unhappy about the way the elections are run, I still vote every time, and I feel that our vote does count for something. So I suggest that you look into ranked choice voting and do not vote yes on 3. Vote no on 3 if you're in Nevada. All right. That's my soapbox for right now on the ranked choice voting. And it's time for our book blitz. So
I'll start. And I'm sticking with education. This is something I've talked about before. Presidential election, Mike Huckabee, freeelectionbundle.com. It shows who does what, right? I think we have a lack of understanding in who does what. I mean, like the Supreme Court can't just make up stuff, right? They have to follow the Constitution. They are dictated. Their law is dictated. They don't just get to make up stuff like the news purports, right? It's ridiculous. But freeelectionbundle.com it's a kids designed for kids to educate them on our civics, state government, federal government, Congress, departments. And I recommend that we all, best I know, we could all use a revisit to who does what, because right now, we're getting a lesson in civics here in Washoe County.
Yes, we are.
And since nobody knows what it is, the current government's trying to make it up.
They seem to be.
Right? They bully you. They talk about bullies in school, and then they bully people like no tomorrow.
Yep.
Right? Quit being hypocrites.
This is the value of the news media right there. We don't have a news media anymore. The value of it and what our founding fathers, what the reason that, and again, the First Amendment was so important is that there was somebody, the news media, to hold the politicians' feet to the fire. Well, when the politicians are lined with the news media, we lose that. And I think you're seeing right now, we're living what happens when that happens.
Well, speaking of the news media, you know that they never covered Trump rallies until this last one.
Right.
This was the first time that they've covered a Trump rally in can't say how long. Isn't that ironic?
Oh, yeah.
How'd they know?
Well, and not to get on, I haven't seen any of this, but you know how close this is to Palestine, Ohio? That whole little bubble of a place there, right. J.D. Vance, Midwest. This is all about Biden dumping on that part of the world.
Right. All right. And so giving them that website one more time.
freeelectionbundle.com. freeelectionbundle.com, and educate yourself and your family. Do it.
I just noticed something. I've never looked at your notebook before, but you write your notes the way you speak.
I don't write in full sentences in my notebook. I'll give you that. I write words. I circle them. I check them. I underline them. I write them wrong.
I thought that
All
was
right. What is your book
Oh,
today?
this is
Doug?
great, and it's by an author, and all of us at least know his name, Dan Bongino. He wrote a book in 2017, Protecting the President, an inside account of the troubled Secret Service in an era of evolving threats. Okay. And this was 17. So what's that? 3, 4, that's 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can say that, wow, he was ahead of the power curve. But this morning, he was on the, bashing the Secret Service and this and that. And I discount people like that because
did you know? I mean, President Trump spoke up for the third party Kennedy guy.
Yes,
who's been barking and barking and barking, and he's
Secret
like
Service.
about half wacky anyway. He's surely right in the crosshairs, if you will. But they haven't given him any until President Trump suggested that he's vulnerable. And now they've coughed up folks. President Trump did that for him, right? I know we
He
paint.
thanked him.
He's
for it, too.
painted as an ugly,
Right.
whatever individual when he's as kind as can be most of the time.
Yeah.
I want to get back to this, but I do have a question.
Well, hurry up because I got a book too.
Okay. Do you think that President Trump is going to reevaluate his position in life because he came so close to dying?
I would expect that. I mean, most people would, right?
Yeah.
Seems to me.
That's really something.
But I think he's a unicorn, right? I don't think he's like the rest of us. And
Well,
I don't
but
think he will.
I think that you would no matter what. I don't think, maybe not the way you would or I would, but I think he probably will. But he might do it in 5 minutes,
Yeah.
right?
Well, just what happens when he lays his head on his pillow at
He
night?
doesn't sleep much, is what I hear.
And that's a way you can keep going, right? Is just keep looking ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coaching, right?
Yeah.
Coaching full
All
board
right,
ahead.
go.
Don't look back.
Go.
Okay. This is being
Dan
a
Bongino.
Secret Service agent is one of the most treacherous jobs in the world, and never more so than in today's highly polarized America.
I should let that go.
This is 7 years ago. Oh my
Best
gosh.
I know, the Secret Service is an easy job. Nobody dies there.
Yeah, well,
I'm serious. Look at the stats.
yeah. Facing threats from fence jumpers and manifesto rioters and from fanatical terrorists and sophisticated spies, protecting the president is harder than ever. In an age of hyper-partisan politics, emotions are high and crazies are a dime a dozen. On top of that, with international tensions reaching a boiling point, it's harder than ever to determine the friend from the foe. Like I said, he has 4.6 out of 5, 341 ratings. Dan Bongino is the author.
All right. And I am going for the obvious, which is J.D. Vance, the vice presidential candidate. And his is Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir of a family and culture in crisis.
So that's about where I grew up.
I know, I knew that.
That's a little bit about our Appalachia.
Yeah, and it's a #1 bestseller. It published in 2016, but of course now it'll sell more. I did download it. I'm going to be reading it. Former Marine and Yale Law School graduate, powerful account of growing up in a poor Rust Belt town that offers a broader, probing look at the struggle of Americans' white working class. The left never talks about the white working class, really.
Well, they don't, and
One of the
it's a real thing.
no,
and his story, I mean, he talks about his mom. I think she was a drug addict, and I mean, it's not a pretty picture. And more people need to understand that these people that get into these positions aren't always born with the silver spoon.
One of the things
Right?
I love about him is his family has a history of addictions and have had to overcome.
Have to overcome.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and just for Doug, 4.3 rating, and this is from 2016. He has 96,131 ratings. He'll have a lot more now.
Yeah.
Well,
and a
you
lot of
know,
them will be bad
of-
because of the fact
I mentioned Rachel Maddow. One of the things how she characterized J.D. Vance was rich.
he is now.
Well,
He worked for it.
But you
Isn't
remember,
that what the American
do you
dream
remember?
is all these things?
He's a venture capitalist.
Yeah,
That
good for
bastard,
him.
you know.
So President Biden is rich too, and he's never had a job outside of government. That's questionable there. But I want to talk about
real
real
guys,
quick.
because we just got a couple more minutes.
I want to say just one thing about him that I think is going to carry a lot of weight, especially for Trump. He's 39 years old.
Absolutely.
And it's time we've brought some new blood into this party.
We just did.
Big picture on the assassination. How many Secret Service people are there? Right?
Quite a few.
One 20-year-old high school graduate.
Yeah.
Right? And he got shots off against 100.
And killed
50.
somebody.
And killed somebody and could have killed our president. That's a dereliction of duty on that
somewhere.
gal.
Yeah, somewhere there is. On that note, and I hate to end on a low note, but hopefully they will do something with Ms. Cheadle, and at least she will see the light, and maybe she'll resign and have some accountability. Worst case, have accountability.
They'll probably
right?
fire her and put her down at the border since she's been so
hopefully
successful where she's been.
Yeah, hopefully she'll come
Well, you
clean.
know what's going to be interesting about the left right now is they're going to continue not to attack Trump's policies, but to attack Trump.
Well,
the
then
man.
I think that we just need to all stick to policy. And when he gets attacked, just talk policy. Because
That's right. Be
what's
ministerial.
important. Ministerial.
Oh,
But
ministerial.
it's okay. You
Good
can say it
chime
your
in.
way.
maybe he was singing it.
He was.
Well, lightning didn't strike.
That's
Right?
right. All right. And we are here every week, 3 to 5.
With
What's
a little
the
luck.
story? Book Hound. And we love it that you're listening. And we thank you very much for being here. And you can listen 7 to 9 p.m. for any replays. And also go to Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, all over the place. All right. Thank you so much. And we're going to sign out now.
Have a
What did I tell
clue.
ya? Yeah. All right. Next week, same time.